Kyle Morrison stood in the center of the Galactic Council chamber and watched 12 alien species stare down at him. The chamber was enormous, built to make humans feel small. It worked on most people. Kyle just smiled. The Xinthian Supreme Commander, Thralix, rose from his seat. His scales gleamed under the station lights. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the hall. Ambassador Morrison, the Council has reached a decision. 3,000 years ago, your species was given a chance to evolve, to become civilized, to learn your place in the galaxy. Kyle said nothing. He kept his hands behind his back and waited. You have failed, Thralix continued. Your expansion continues. Your military, though small, refuses to submit to Council authority. Your people refuse to accept guidance. The Armistice is over. The Council declares war on humanity. The other aliens made sounds of agreement. Some clicked. Some hummed. Some did things Kyle had no words for. They all expected the same thing: fear, begging, panic. Kyle smiled. It was not a warm smile. You should have left us alone, he said quietly. Thralix leaned forward. Is that a threat, human? No, Kyle said. It's a warning, but you're 3,000 years too late to hear it. He turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the aliens began talking among themselves. They sounded confused. They sounded annoyed. They did not sound worried. They should have been. Kyle walked through the halls of Unity Prime, the massive orbital station that served as neutral ground between humans and the rest of the galaxy. His assistant, a young woman named Claire Summers, rushed to catch up with him. Sir, they really did it. They declared war. I heard, Kyle said. What do we do? Kyle stopped walking and looked at her. We do what we've been preparing to do for 3,000 years. We remind them why they agreed to the armistice in the first place. He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Admiral Grant, this is Morrison. Protocol Prometheus is active. On the other end of the line, Admiral Lisa Grant sat in her command chair aboard the ship Remembrance. She was 50 years old with gray hair and cold eyes. Those eyes had seen things most people only read about in history books. She had spent her entire life preparing for this day. Confirmed, Ambassador. Activating now. Lisa turned to her crew. Send the signal. All fleets, all stations, all units. The armistice is over. Begin transformation. Across human space from Earth to the outer colonies, the signal went out. And humanity began to change. On Europa, Commander Jake Patterson had been waiting for this moment. He stood in what looked like an ice research station. To any observer, it was just a place where scientists studied the frozen moon. But Jake knew the truth. He had known it since he was a child. All teams, this is Patterson. Drop the disguises. Battle stations. The research station began to move. Walls slid apart. The ice above them cracked and fell away. What emerged was not a research station. It was a military fortress, armed with weapons that could crack a planet. Around Europa, 50 more stations did the same thing. In the asteroid belt, something even more dramatic happened. Thousands of asteroids that had been mined for decades suddenly powered up. They were not asteroids anymore. They were ships, massive warships that had been built in secret, disguised as mining operations. Each one was the size of a city. Captain Amy Foster stood on the bridge of one such ship, the Vindication. She had lived on this asteroid her entire life. She had helped build the ship hidden inside it. Now finally, she could reveal what it truly was. This is Foster to all belt ships. Power up weapons. Release camouflage. Let them see what we really are. The asteroids began to move. They formed up into battle formations, their true shapes revealed. The aliens watching from their distant fleets suddenly saw their sensors light up with warnings. Where there had been empty space and rocks, there were now thousands of warships. On Earth, Dr. Henry Cole walked into a vault deep beneath the surface. The vault was labeled Department of Strategic Memory. It was a place most humans did not know existed. It was a place where humanity kept its most important treasure, the truth. Henry placed his hand on a scanner. The door opened. Inside were millions of records, videos, documents, Battle plans, history, every detail of the war that had happened 3,000 years ago. Every moment of violence, every death, every victory. The aliens had forgotten. They had moved on. They had convinced themselves the war ended in a stalemate, that both sides agreed to peace because neither could win. That was a lie. Humanity had won. Humanity had beaten the aliens so badly that they begged for peace. And humanity, tired of killing, had agreed. But humanity had demanded something in return. Time. 3,000 years to see if the aliens could change. 3,000 years to see if they could learn to live in peace. The aliens had failed the test. Henry uploaded every file in the vault to the military network. Every human soldier, every captain, every officer now had access to the complete history. They would remember what the aliens had forgotten. They would fight with the knowledge of what happened before. "This is Cole to all commands," Henry said into his communicator. "The archives are open, remember everything." Admiral Lisa Grant received the files on her command screen. She opened one. It showed the Battle of Proxima 3,000 years ago. She watched human ships, old and primitive compared to now, tear through alien fleets. She watched the aliens retreat. She watched them surrender. "They forgot," she said softly. "They actually forgot." Her second officer, a man named Greg Palmer, looked at the screen. "How could they forget this?" "Because they wanted to," Lisa said. "They wanted to believe they were stronger than us. They wanted to believe the Armistice was their idea. They rewrote their own history. And we kept the real history alive." "Every generation," Lisa confirmed. "Every human child learns what really happened. Every military officer studies those battles. We never forgot. We never forgave. We just waited." Greg looked uncomfortable. "That's a long time to hold a grudge, Admiral." Lisa turned to him. "It's not a grudge, Greg, it's a lesson. They attacked us first 3,000 years ago. We beat them. We gave them peace. We gave them mercy. And the first thing they do when the armistice ends? They declare war again. Some species never learn." On the Galactic Council station, Thralix was starting to realize something was wrong. His sensors showed impossible readings. The human fleet was supposed to be small, a few hundred ships at most, but his screens showed thousands, tens of thousands. "This must be an error," he said. His tactical officer, a nervous creature with too many eyes, shook its head. "No error, Commander. The humans have a massive fleet. It was hidden, disguised." "How?" "We do not know." Thralix felt something he had not felt in centuries: fear. "Send a message to all council fleets. The humans are more dangerous than we thought. Prepare for full military engagement." But it was already too late. The first battle happened at the Kuiper Belt, far beyond Neptune. An alien scouting fleet of 20 ships jumped in to observe human defenses. They expected to see a few patrol vessels, maybe some defensive satellites. Instead, they saw a fortress. It was called Olympus Mons, and it had been built inside a dwarf planet over the course of 1,000 years. It was the size of a small moon, covered in weapons. When the alien ships appeared, Olympus Mons opened fire. The battle lasted 4 minutes. 20 alien ships became debris. The fortress did not even move. Lieutenant Ben Hughes watched the battle from his fighter cockpit. He was 25 years old and had trained his entire life for this moment. His fighter was docked inside what looked like a civilian transport ship, but like everything else in human space, the transport was not what it seemed. "All fighters, this is command. Launch." The transport ship opened. 100 fighters poured out. Then another transport opened, and another. What the aliens thought was a civilian convoy was actually a carrier battle group. Ben grinned as he flew toward the enemy. "This is what we trained for, people. Let's show them what humans do best." His wingman, a woman named Katie Moore, laughed. "You mean the fighting or the lying?" "Both. They hit the alien formation like a hammer." The aliens were still confused, still trying to understand how humans had hidden so much military power. They did not have time to adapt. The human fighters were faster, better armed, and piloted by people who had spent years in simulators that the aliens thought were just museums. On Earth, in the capital city, People gathered in the streets. They watched the broadcasts. They watched as human ships revealed themselves. They watched as 3,000 years of preparation finally showed its purpose. A young boy turned to his father. "Dad, are we winning?" His father, a veteran of the peacetime fleet, nodded. "Yes, son. We're winning. But more importantly, we're making sure this is the last time we have to fight." Did we really let them think we were weak? For 3,000 years, his father confirmed. We let them think the Armistice was their mercy to us. We let them think we spent this time learning to be civilized. We let them forget who won the first war. But why? Because we wanted to see if they could change, if they could learn to live in peace without needing to be beaten first. The father's expression darkened. They couldn't. Kyle Morrison returned to his ship. He sat in his cabin and recorded a message to be sent to all human forces. "This is Ambassador Morrison. The Council has chosen war. We offered." The Xinthian war fleet approached Earth with confidence. 300 ships, each one massive and powerful. They had fought a dozen wars against other species. They had won every one. Humans, they believed, would be no different. Admiral Court stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched Earth grow larger on his screens. The blue planet looked peaceful, defenseless even. His sensors showed only light traffic, a few cargo ships, some defense satellites, nothing that could stop his fleet. "Begin the bombardment," he ordered. "Target their military installations first, then their industrial centers." His weapons officer prepared to fire. Then the officer stopped. "Sir, the asteroid belt is moving." "What?" "The belt, sir. It's moving toward us." Court looked at his tactical display. The officer was right. Hundreds of objects in the asteroid belt were accelerating, coming toward his fleet at impossible speeds for rocks. "Those are not asteroids," Court said slowly. "Sound the alarm." Evasive action. But it was too late. The asteroids revealed their true nature. They were not rocks. They were ships. Each one larger than Court's flagship. Each one covered in weapons that had been built over centuries. The disguise fell away like a shell, and what emerged made Court's blood run cold. The human dreadnoughts opened fire. Captain Amy Foster stood on the bridge of the Vindication and watched the alien fleet try to scatter. It was too late. Her ship and hundreds like it had jumped right into the middle of their formation. "All batteries fire at will," she ordered calmly. The Vindication's weapons lit up space. Each shot hit with the force of a nuclear bomb. The alien ships had strong shields, but they were designed for fighting other aliens. They were not designed for weapons that humanity had spent 3,000 years perfecting. The first alien ship exploded, then another, then 10 more. "This is too easy," her tactical officer said. "They forgot what we can do," Amy replied. "That's their mistake, not our problem." Below them on Earth's surface, people watched the battle through telescopes and screens. Children pointed at the lights in the sky. Adults stood in silence, watching decades of hidden preparation finally revealed. An old woman stood in a park, tears running down her face. Her grandfather had fought in the First War 3,000 years ago. He had told her stories. Stories of blood and fire. Stories of human victory. Stories that most people thought were legends. "They were true," she whispered. "All of it was true." In orbit around Mars, the aliens made another discovery. The planet's 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos, were not natural. They had been hollowed out centuries ago and turned into military bases. Now they opened up and released swarms of fighters. Ben Hughes led his squadron out of Deimos. His fighter was small and fast, built for one purpose: killing larger ships. His weapons were precise. His training was perfect. He had been flying simulators since he was 12 years old. His parents had told him it was a game. It was not a game. "Blue Squadron, form up on me," he called. "We've got incoming heavies at Mark 7. "I see them, Blue Leader," Katie Moore replied. She was flying beside him like always. They had trained together for years. 6 cruisers. They look mean. They look slow, Ben corrected. He armed his missiles. "Let's dance." The human fighters moved like they were alive. They dodged and weaved through alien fire. The aliens tried to track them but could not. Human reflexes were faster. Human tactics were better. And human weapons hit harder than anything the aliens expected. Ben fired 4 missiles. All 4 hit the same alien cruiser. The ship's shields collapsed. The hull breached. Air and fire spilled into space. Scratch one cruiser, he reported. Make that two, Katie added. Her missiles had just destroyed another. The 6 alien cruisers became 4. Then 2, then none. The fighter squadron moved on to their next target without slowing down. Admiral Court watched his fleet die around him. In 20 minutes, he had lost half his ships. The humans had not lost a single vessel. Retreat, he ordered. Full retreat. Send a message to command. The humans are not what we thought. They are not weak. They are not unprepared. They are— His ship shook. Something massive had just hit it. What was that? Court demanded. Unknown weapon, sir. It came from the moon. Earth's moon? Yes, sir. The entire moon appears to be armed. Court stared at his officer. The entire moon? Every crater is a weapon emplacement, sir. They've been building it for centuries. Maybe millennia. Another shot hit Court's ship. This time the shields failed. The hull started to crack. Abandon ship, Court screamed. All hands abandoned. The ship exploded. Admiral Court and 3,000 Xinthian soldiers died in an instant. The human defenders did not celebrate. They simply moved on to the next target. On the command deck of the Remembrance, Admiral Lisa Grant watched the battle reports come in. Earth was secure. Mars was secure. Every human colony was holding. But more than holding, they were winning. Enemy casualties? She asked. Over 400 ships destroyed, Greg Palmer reported. Across all theaters. Our losses are less than 20. And most of those were from accidents, not enemy fire, Lisa said. She felt no joy in the numbers, only grim satisfaction. They came here expecting to invade. Instead, they got a slaughter. Should we pursue? Lisa shook her head. No, let them run. Let them tell their leaders what they saw. Fear is a weapon, too. She pulled up a star map. It showed human space in blue and alien space in red. The red was much larger. Hundreds of systems. Dozens of species. All united against humanity. They think this is just a defensive war, Lisa said quietly. They think we'll sit here and protect our territory. We won't? No, Greg. We spent 3,000 years preparing for this. We're not going to wait for them to come back stronger. We're taking the fight to them. She pressed a button. All fleet commanders, this is Grant. Phase 2 begins now. You have your targets. Jump coordinates are being sent. Hit them fast. Hit them hard. Make them regret they ever heard the word human. Across human space, hundreds of ships prepared to jump. They were not going to defend. They were going to attack. Dr. Henry Cole sat in his office and watched the tactical feeds. He was not a military man. He was a historian. But in this war, history was a weapon. Send this to all units, he said to his assistant. He uploaded a file. It's a complete breakdown of alien military tactics from the First War. Every formation they used. Every strategy. I've analyzed it all. They haven't changed. They're using the same playbook they used 3,000 years ago. And we know how to counter it, his assistant said. We've known for 3,000 years. Henry confirmed. We've been studying them this whole time. They stopped studying us. They assumed we were no longer a threat. That assumption is costing them everything. He pulled up another file. This one showed the political structure of the alien coalition. 12 species. But not all of them were friends. Some hated each other. Some only joined the coalition because they were afraid of the Xinthians. Send this to Ambassador Morrison, Henry said. Some of these species might be willing to negotiate. We don't have to fight all of them, just the ones who refuse peace. In deep space, Commander Jake Patterson's team infiltrated a Xinthian supply depot. They moved through the shadows, invisible to alien sensors. Their armor was designed to absorb light. Their weapons made no sound. 6 guards at the main fuel reservoir, Jake whispered into his comm. Katie, you take the 3 on the left. Katie Ross, not to be confused with Katie Moore the pilot, moved into position. She was a specialist in close combat. She did not need guns. Her hands were enough. The guards did not see her coming. They did not hear her. By the time they realized something was wrong, it was over. Clear, Katie reported. Jake and his team entered the reservoir room. It was massive, filled with fuel cells that powered 100 alien ships. He placed charges on the main tanks. Set for 5 minutes, he ordered. That gives us time to reach the extraction point. Sir, there are alien civilians on this station, one of his soldiers said. Jake looked at him. Did you see any civilians on your way here? No, sir. Just military. That's because this is a military depot. No civilians. No innocents. Just enemy soldiers. He activated the charges. "Now move!" They ran through the corridors. Behind them, alarms started to sound. The aliens had discovered the charges. They scrambled to disarm them, but Jake's team had used technology the aliens had never seen. The charges were impossible to stop. Jake and his team reached their extraction ship with 1 minute to spare. They launched just as the depot exploded. The blast was visible from 3 star systems away. "Target destroyed," Jake reported. "No friendly casualties." "Good work, Patterson," Admiral Lisa Grant replied. "Come home. We have 6 more targets for you." On the Galactic Council station, Thralks received the reports and felt his world collapsing. Every fleet he sent to human space was destroyed. Every attack was countered. Every strategy failed. How? He demanded. How are they doing this? His intelligence officer, a species known for their brilliant minds, looked at the data. They knew we were coming. They knew our tactics. They knew our formations. It's like they've been studying us for... The officer stopped. For 3,000 years, Thralks finished. They never stopped preparing. They never stopped studying us. The Armistice was not peace for them. It was a long preparation for war. What do we do? Thralks looked at the star map. Human ships were now attacking deep in. The Zynthian homeworld had not seen war in 2,000 years. It was a place of peace and beauty. Gleaming cities covered the surface. Billions of aliens lived there, safe and secure. They believed they were untouchable. They were wrong. Captain Samantha Brooks sat on the bridge of her ship, the Horizon, and watched the planet grow larger on her screens. Her ship was different from other human vessels. It was experimental. It could do something no other ship in the galaxy could do. It could jump an entire fleet. "All ships report ready," her navigator said. "Good." Samantha looked at the 50 ships that surrounded her. They were all connected to the Horizon through a network of energy fields. When she jumped, they would all jump with her, right into the heart of Zynthian space. "Execute jump in 3, 2, 1, space folded. The fleet vanished. When they reappeared, they were in orbit around the Zynthian homeworld. Alarms screamed across the planet. The Zynthian defense fleet scrambled. But they were too late. The human fleet was already there, weapons armed and ready. Colonel Ryan Walsh led the ground assault. His team of 200 soldiers dropped from orbit in armored pods. They hit the surface near the Planetary Defense Command Center. The building was massive, protected by shields and guards. Ryan and his team went through the guards like a knife through paper. "Minimal casualties," he ordered his people. "We're here for the command center, not the civilians. Stay focused." They breached the building in 4 minutes. Inside, Zynthian officers scrambled to activate defenses. Ryan's team shut down every system they touched. Not with weapons, with code. Human hackers had been studying Zynthian computer systems for 3,000 years. They knew every weakness. "Every backdoor. Command center secured," Ryan reported. "No human casualties. 27 enemy casualties. All soldiers who refused to surrender." "Good work, Colonel," Admiral Nathan Pierce replied. He was commanding the orbital assault from his flagship. "Hold that position. We're sending the package." The package was Dr. Henry Cole. He arrived with a small team and a data core that contained every piece of historical evidence humanity had saved for 3,000 years. Henry walked into the Zynthian command center and looked at the captured officers. They stared at him with fear and hatred. "Do you know why we're here?" Henry asked them. "To destroy us," one officer said. "No," Henry replied. "We're here to teach you a lesson you should have learned 3,000 years ago." He connected the data core to the Zynthian communication network. "I'm about to broadcast something to your entire planet. You're going to watch, all of you." He pressed a button. Every screen on the planet activated. Every communication device. Every display. All of them showed the same thing. The truth. The broadcast started with images from 3,000 years ago, the first contact between humans and aliens. It had not been peaceful. The aliens had attacked without warning. They had destroyed human colonies. They had killed millions. Humanity had fought back. The broadcast showed battles. Old battles with old ships. But the results were clear. Humanity had won. Again and again. The aliens had been pushed back. Their fleets had been destroyed. Their armies had been defeated. The Zynthian emperor at the time had begged for peace, on his knees, in front of human commanders. The broadcast showed that moment in perfect detail. Then it showed the human response. Mercy. The human commander, a woman named Admiral Sarah Collins, had agreed to peace. But she had demanded a promise. 3,000 years. 3,000 years for the aliens to prove they could change. 3,000 years to show they could live without war. "We gave you time," Henry's voice said over the broadcast. "We gave you a chance. And what did you do? You forgot. You rewrote your history. You convinced yourselves that the Armistice was your idea, that you were the ones showing us mercy." The broadcast switched to recent footage. The Galactic Council declaring war. Thralks calling humanity uncivilized. The aliens voting to attack. "You failed the test," Henry said. "You learned nothing. And now you're paying the price." The broadcast ended. Across the Zynthian homeworld, billions of aliens sat in silence. Some cried. Some raged. But most felt something they had not felt in a long time. Shame. On the Galactic Council station, Thralks watched the same broadcast. He felt his world breaking apart. Everything he believed was a lie. The Zynthians had not been strong. They had been beaten. The Armistice had not been mercy. It had been a test they had just failed. "Sir, we're receiving messages from multiple species," his communication officer said. "The Valorians, the Kresh, and the Benthari are withdrawing from the coalition. They're asking humans for peace." "Traitors," Thralks hissed. "Sir, 3 more species are considering withdrawal. The broadcast has changed everything. They now know we lied to them. They know humans were the victors." Thralks stood up. His hands were shaking. "Send a message to all remaining fleets. We fight to the end. Humanity must be destroyed. If we let them win, we lose everything." "Sir, we've already lost. Then we take them with us." Lieutenant Chris Dawson sat in a cafe on a neutral space station. He was not wearing a uniform. He looked like a tourist, a human visiting alien space during peacetime. But the Armistice was over. There was no peace. And Chris was not a tourist, he was a spy. For 15 years, Chris had lived among aliens. He had learned their languages, their customs, their secrets. He had sent reports back to human intelligence every week. Reports that helped humanity prepare for this war. Now he had a different mission. Across from him sat a Valorian diplomat named Shara. Her species had just withdrawn from the coalition. She looked nervous. "Why did you contact me?" she asked. "Because your people made the right choice," Chris said. "You don't have to fight this war. You don't have to die for Zynthian lies. The Council will call us traitors. The Council is dying. 3 more species are about to withdraw. By next week it will be 6. The Zynthians lied to everyone. They convinced the galaxy to attack humanity based on false history." Chris leaned forward. "You saw the broadcast. You know the truth now." "We did not know," Shara said quietly. "We thought humans were the aggressors 3,000 years ago. We thought the Armistice was our mercy to you. It was our mercy to all of you, and you repaid it with war." Chris's voice was hard. "But my government is willing to forgive. If you help us end this." "How?" "Convince other species to withdraw. Share the broadcast. Show them what the Zynthians have hidden. The more species that leave the coalition, the faster this war ends." Shara nodded slowly. "I will try. That's all we ask." Chris stood up. "Oh, and Shara, tell your people that humanity remembers its friends. When this war is over, the species that helped end it will be rewarded. The ones that fought to the end." He smiled coldly. "We have long memories." Admiral Nathan Pierce commanded the assault on 6 Zynthian military stations simultaneously. His fleet moved like a single organism. Every ship knew its role. Every captain had trained for this exact scenario. "Station Alpha is destroyed," one captain reported. "Station Beta surrendering," another said. "Station Gamma is putting up a fight. They've got some new weapon. The transmission cut off." "Captain Harris, report," Nathan ordered. "Silence. All ships converge on Station Gamma. I want to know what weapon they used." The fleet jumped. When they arrived at Station Gamma, they found Captain Harris's ship crippled but intact. The station was firing some kind of energy beam that cut through shields like they were not there. "That's new," Nathan said. "Tactical, can we counter it?" "Unknown, sir. We've never seen this technology before." Nathan thought for a moment. "All ships fire on the station's power source. All weapons. Maximum power. Every human ship fired at once. 100 beams of energy converged on a single point. The station shields tried to hold. They failed. The power source exploded. The entire station went dark." "Interesting weapon," Nathan said. Make sure we recover samples. Our scientists will want to study it. Sir, should we be worried? If they have new weapons, they don't matter, Nathan interrupted. One new weapon won't change 3,000 years of preparation. We adapt, we overcome, we win. On Earth, people watched the war unfold with mixed emotions. Some celebrated the victories. Others mourned the deaths, even alien deaths. And some worried about what would come after. A teacher stood in front of her class of 10-year-old children. Does anyone know why we're fighting this war? She asked. A girl raised her hand. Because the aliens attacked us? That's part of it, the teacher said. But the real reason is more complicated. 3,000 years ago, we won a war. We could have destroyed the aliens. We chose mercy instead. We gave them time to change. They didn't change. So now we have to fight again. A boy raised his hand. Could we have avoided this? The teacher paused. It was a good question. An important question. Maybe. If the aliens had been honest about their history. If they had taught their children the truth instead of lies. If they had used the 3,000 years to build real peace instead of preparing for another war. She looked at her students. That's why we teach you the truth. All of it, even the ugly parts. Because forgetting history means repeating it. Ben Hughes flew his 50th combat mission. He was tired. His body ached. But his hands were steady on the controls. He had a job to do. Blue Leader, this is command. We're detecting a large alien fleet approaching your position. Thralic stood in the deepest vault on the Xinthian homeworld. Around him were artifacts from ancient times, things so old that even the Xinthians had forgotten their purpose. But Thralix knew. He had studied the forbidden texts. He knew what his ancestors had hidden. Are you certain about this? His advisor asked. We have no choice, Thralx replied. The humans are destroying us. In another week, we will have no fleet left. In a month, they will occupy our homeworld. We must use the weapon. But the legends say it cannot be controlled. That it will destroy everything. Then everything will be destroyed. Thralx placed his hand on an ancient pedestal. Better that than surrender to humans. The pedestal activated. Deep beneath the surface, something that had slept for millions of years began to wake. On the Remembrance, Admiral Lisa Grant was celebrating. The war was nearly over. 20 species had withdrawn from the coalition. Only the Xinthians and their closest allies remained. And they were losing. Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy. Readings from the Xinthian homeworld, Greg Palmer said. Deep underground. The signature is unlike anything we've seen. What kind of energy? I don't know. It's old. Really old. Our sensors can barely read it. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Get me Dr. Cole. Now. Henry Cole arrived on the bridge within minutes. He looked at the readings and went pale. What is it? Lisa asked. The predecessors. Henry whispered. The who? Henry pulled up ancient star maps on the tactical display. The predecessors. The original rulers of the galaxy. They existed millions of years ago. They created the first intelligent species as servants. But those species rebelled. There was a war. The predecessors lost. They were supposed to be destroyed. Supposed to be? They were put to sleep instead. Locked away. The location was supposed to be lost forever. Henry pointed at the energy signature. Thralx found it, and he just woke them up. Lisa stared at the readings. They were growing stronger. What will they do? They'll purge all organic life, every species, every planet. They don't distinguish between their old servants and new life. To them, we're all the same. We're all a threat. How do we fight them? Henry looked at her with fear in his eyes. I don't know if we can. The first predecessor ship emerged from beneath the Xinthian homeworld. It was massive, the size of a small moon, black metal that absorbed light. Technology that made human and alien ships look like toys. It fired once. The beam struck the planetary capital. 10 million Xinthians died instantly. The city was simply gone. Erased. Thralx watched from orbit and realized what he had done. Stop it, he screamed. Deactivate the weapon. We surrender. But there was no way to stop it. The predecessor ship did not care about surrender. It did not care about sides. It only cared about its original programming: destroy all organic life. A second predecessor ship emerged, then a third. They spread across the system, destroying everything they found: Xynthian ships, human ships, space stations, colonies. Nothing mattered. Everything died. "This is Admiral Grant to all human forces," Lisa broadcast. "New priority. The predecessor machines are our primary threat. All hostilities with alien forces are suspended. Repeat. All hostilities suspended. We have a bigger problem." On the surface of the Xynthian homeworld, Colonel Ryan Walsh was fighting predecessor drones. They were smaller than the ships, but just as deadly. His team's weapons barely scratched them. "Fall back," he ordered. "We can't fight these things." A Xynthian officer ran up to him. "Human, we must work together. These machines will kill us all." Ryan looked at the officer. An hour ago they had been enemies. Now they were both just trying to survive. "Agreed. What do you know about these things?" "Very little. They are from legend. From before our civilization." "Great." Ryan fired at a drone. His bullets bounced off. "Anyone have any ideas?" Katie Ross studied the drone's movements. "They're machines. They have to have weak points, joints, power sources. Something. Find it fast." Katie ran toward a drone. It fired at her. She dodged and slid under it. She saw what she was looking for: a glowing core in its center. She fired her plasma cutter at point-blank range. The drone exploded. "Found it," Katie called out. "Center mass. Under the armor. Aim for the glow." The combined human and Xynthian forces adapted. It was still hard. They lost people, but they could fight now. They could win. In space, Captain Samantha Brooks watched 3 predecessor ships approach her fleet. Her 50 ships looked tiny compared to them. "All vessels, concentrate fire on the lead ship," she ordered. "Full power." Every weapon fired at once. The predecessor ship's shields absorbed the damage like it was nothing. "That didn't work," her navigator said. "Then we try something else." Samantha looked at her experimental jump drive. It could move whole fleets. What if she used it differently? "Prepare to jump. Calculate a jump to bring us right next to that ship, close enough to touch." "Admiral, that's suicide. It's also our only chance. Execute." The horizon jumped. It appeared next to the predecessor ship, so close that their hulls were only meters apart. Samantha fired every weapon at point-blank range. At this distance, even predecessor shields could not stop the damage. The enemy ship's hull cracked, then broke. The ship began to tear apart. "Jump us out," Samantha ordered. The horizon vanished just before the predecessor ship exploded. When they reappeared, Samantha's crew was cheering. "That worked better than I expected," she admitted. But there were dozens more predecessor ships emerging. Hundreds. Maybe thousands. And they were spreading across the galaxy. Dr. Henry Cole worked with alien scientists for the first time in his life. They were studying old texts, ancient databases, anything that might tell them how to stop the predecessors. "Here," a Valorian scientist said. "This text mentions a weakness. The predecessors have a central command node. If it's destroyed, all the drones and ships shut down." "Where is it?" Henry asked. "Deep space, in a region called the Void. It's a dead zone. No stars, no planets, just empty space. And the command node? It's the size of a star, made of the same black metal as the ships, heavily defended." Henry looked at the data. It would take everything they had, every ship, every soldier, human and alien working together, and even then, they might not win. "We don't have a choice," he said. "Get this information to Admiral Grant." On Earth, people watched the news in horror. The predecessor machines were spreading. They had destroyed 6 alien homeworlds already. They were coming to Earth next. In the streets, humans and aliens stood together, refugees from destroyed worlds, former enemies united by terror. A human child asked her father, "Are we going to die?" Her father held her close. "Not if our people have anything to say about it." Admiral Lisa Grant assembled the largest fleet in galactic history. 5,000 human ships, 2,000 alien ships. Every species that remained sent what they could. Even the Xinthians. Thralks stood on his damaged flagship and watched the fleet form up. He found himself next to Admiral Grant on a shared communication channel. "I am sorry," he said quietly. Lisa looked at him. "Sorry doesn't bring back the dead. But it's a start. If we survive this, we'll talk about what comes next. Right now we fight." "Agreed." Kyle Morrison coordinated with 20 different alien ambassadors. They were all on Unity Prime, which had become the command center for the joint defense. "We need to move as one," Kyle said. "The predecessors don't care about our politics. They don't care about our history. We're all just targets to them." "How do we trust each other?" a Kresh diplomat asked. "We were enemies yesterday." "We trust each other because we have to," Kyle replied. "Or we die. Together. Your choice." The diplomat nodded. "We will fight beside you." Commander Jake Patterson led a strike team into a predecessor facility. It was built on an asteroid. Automated defenses tried to stop them. Human and alien soldiers fought side by side. "On your left," a Xinthian soldier called out. Jake turned and fired. A drone exploded. "Thanks. You saved my life earlier. We are even." They pushed deeper into the facility. Their mission was to steal data, anything that might help them understand how to shut down the predecessor command node. They found it, a database with millions of years of information. Jake downloaded everything he could. "Got it. Let's go." They fought their way back to their ship. Half the team died, but the survivors brought back information that might save the galaxy. Ben Hughes and Katie Moore flew escort for science vessels studying predecessor technology. They were attacked by predecessor fighters. The enemy machines were fast. Too fast. "I can't shake them," Katie called out. "Try the spiral maneuver," Ben suggested. "That only works on organic pilots." "These things might be predictable. Try it." Katie spiraled her fighter. The predecessor fighter followed in a perfect arc. It could not adapt. It could not improvise. Katie reversed thrust and fired. The enemy fighter exploded. "It worked," she said, surprised. "They're machines," Ben replied. "They can calculate, but they can't imagine. That's our advantage." The information spread through the fleet. Pilots learned to exploit the predecessor's predictability. It was still hard. They still lost people. But they could fight. Dr. Melissa Turner worked with alien engineers to create a new weapon, something that could hurt the predecessors. She had refused to use the Void Hammer against aliens. But these were not living beings. These were machines that wanted to kill everything. The Void was the darkest place in the galaxy. No stars, no light, just empty space that seemed to go on forever. In the center of this darkness sat the predecessor command node. It was massive beyond understanding. A construct the size of a sun, made of black metal that seemed to drink in what little light existed. 7,000 ships approached it. Human and alien vessels flying together, the largest fleet ever assembled, and they were afraid. Admiral Lisa Grant stood on the bridge of the Remembrance and watched the command node grow larger on her screens. Around her, the combined fleet spread out into attack formation. "All ships, this is Grant, you know the plan. We hit them with everything we have. We keep them busy while the strike team delivers the weapon to the core. Some of us won't make it home, but our children will have a future because of what we do today." She paused. "For 3,000 years we prepared for war. Today we fight not against each other, but for each other. Humans and aliens together. Let's show these machines what unity looks like." The fleet charged forward. The predecessor defenses activated. Thousands of automated ships poured out of the command node. They were identical. Perfect. Unstoppable. Or so they thought. Captain Amy Foster led her battle group against the first wave. Her ship, the Vindication, had survived every battle so far. She intended to keep it that way. All ships, remember the training. They're predictable. Use it against them. The human ships moved in patterns that seemed random, chaotic. The predecessor ships tried to calculate their next moves but failed. How could they predict something that had no pattern? How could machines understand instinct? The alien ships added their own tactics. Different styles. different approaches. The predecessor's programming could not handle it. For every human ship they destroyed, the combined fleet destroyed 10 of theirs. But there were so many. Commander Jake Patterson led the strike team toward the command node's surface. His ship was small, fast, designed to slip through defenses. With him were 20 other ships, human and alien crews all volunteering for a one-way mission. Surface defenses activating, his pilot called out. Evasive action. Keep moving. Energy beams cut through space. 3 ships exploded. 4 more were damaged. But the rest kept going. They landed on the command node's surface and began cutting through the hull. We're in, Jake reported, beginning descent to the core. Inside the command node was a maze of passages, all identical, all perfect. Jake's team ran through them, following the energy readings that led to the core. Predecessor drones tried to stop them. Human and alien soldiers fought side by side. Left corridor, a Xinthian soldier shouted. Jake turned and fired. The drone exploded. Thanks. We are in this together now. They pushed deeper. Half the team died in the first 10 minutes. But they kept going. They had to. In space, the battle was reaching its peak. Ben Hughes flew his fighter through a cloud of enemy drones. His weapons were almost empty. His shields were gone, but he kept fighting. Blue Squadron, form up on me, he called. Only 3 voices answered. The rest were gone. Ben, I'm hit, Katie Moore said. Her ship was trailing fire. Eject, no time. I'm going to ram that cruiser. Tell my family I... Her transmission cut off as her ship exploded against a predecessor cruiser. Both ships died. Ben felt tears on his face. He wiped them away and kept fighting. For Katie. For everyone. Captain Samantha Brooks used her experimental jump drive to devastating effect. She would jump right next to a predecessor ship, fire everything, then jump away before they could respond. It was working. But each jump drained her power. We've got enough power for 3 more jumps, her engineer said. Then we make them count. Samantha looked at the tactical display. The strike team was almost at the core. They just needed more time. All remaining ships converge on the command node. We hold this position, no matter what. Admiral Nathan Pierce commanded the defensive line. His fleet was battered, broken, but still fighting. An alien captain called him on the communication channel. Admiral, our shields are failing. We cannot hold much longer. Then ram them, Nathan replied. Take as many as you can with you. For the future, the alien captain said. His ship accelerated into a predecessor cruiser. Both exploded. Nathan watched and felt something he never expected. Respect for his former enemies. Deep inside the command node, Jake Patterson's team reached the core. It was a chamber the size of a city. In the center floated a sphere of pure energy. The heart of the predecessor network. Destroy it and every predecessor machine in the galaxy would shut down. Set the charges, Jake ordered. Dr. Melissa Turner had given them the Void Hammer, split into parts. Each team member carried one piece. Together they assembled it at the core. It's ready, Jake said, but someone needs to stay behind to activate it. I will, a Valorian soldier said. No, I will, a human soldier argued. We all will, Jake said quietly. We knew this was one way. Let's finish it together. Admiral Lisa Grant watched the battle from her command chair. The fleet was down to half strength. They could not hold much longer. She opened a channel to Jake. Colonel, what's your status? Weapon is in place, Admiral. We're activating it now. You did good work, Jake, all of you. Admiral, you should jump out. Get the fleet clear. Lisa looked at the tactical display. If she ordered a retreat now, half the fleet would die covering the escape. If she stayed, everyone would die. But the weapon would definitely work. Negative, Colonel. We're staying. We'll hold them off until the weapon activates. Kyle Morrison stood beside her. He smiled sadly. We always knew it would end like this. Did we? You and I? We're old, Lisa. We've fought enough wars. Time to let the young ones have peace. Lisa nodded. It's been an honor, Kyle. The honor was mine. The Void Hammer activated. Energy spread from the core through the entire command node. It was not an explosion. It was something quieter. Something that simply turned off every predecessor machine at once. The drones stopped moving. The ships went dark. The command node itself began to break apart. Jake Patterson and his team never felt anything. The energy reached them first. They were gone in an instant, no pain. Just completion. In space, the predecessor fleet simply stopped. They drifted lifeless. The combined human and alien fleet ceased fire and watched in wonder. "They're dead," Greg Palmer said. "All of them." Admiral Lisa Grant felt the remembrance shake. The command node was collapsing. Debris was spreading. She had seconds to decide. "All ships, emergency jump. Get out now." "Admiral, what about you?" "I'm too close to the node. My jump drive is damaged. I'll be caught in the collapse." Lisa looked at Kyle. "But you can still jump. Your ship is undamaged." Kyle shook his head. "I'm not leaving you." "Kyle, we started this together." "We end it together," Lisa wanted to argue. But there was no time. The command node exploded. The remembrance was caught in the blast. Lisa and Kyle held hands as the light consumed them. The rest of the fleet jumped clear. They appeared in safe space and immediately began rescue operations. Survivors were pulled from damaged ships. Medical teams worked around the clock. Thralic stood on his bridge and watched the casualty reports come in. So many dead, human and alien, all because he had awakened the predecessors. "Send a message to the human fleet," he ordered. "Tell them I offer unconditional surrender. Tell them I take full responsibility for everything." The message was received by Captain Amy Foster. She was now the highest-ranking human officer alive. "What should we do?" her communication officer asked. Amy thought about Admiral Grant, about Kyle Morrison, about all the people who had died fighting together. "Tell him we accept his surrender, but tell him we don't want his death. We want him to help rebuild. Both our people lost too much today. We need to make sure it meant something." The message went out across the fleet, to every human and alien ship. The war was over. 50 years later, Commander Chris Dawson stood in front of a class at the Joint Military Academy. He was old now, gray-haired and tired, but his eyes were still sharp. "Can anyone tell me why we won the war against the predecessors?" he asked. A young human cadet raised her hand. "Because we had superior weapons?" "No," an alien cadet spoke up. "Because we outnumbered them?" "No," Chris smiled. "We won because we learned to work together. Humans and aliens, former enemies becoming allies." He pulled up an image on the screen. It showed the memorial at Unity Prime. 2 statues stood in the center, Admiral Lisa Grant and Ambassador Kyle Morrison. Around them were the names of everyone who died in the final battle. "These people smiled coldly at war," Chris said. "They prepared for it. They excelled at it. But they did not love it. They fought so their children would not have to. They fought so we could have peace." He looked at the mixed class of human and alien cadets. The Armistice ended 3,000 years ago. Our ancestors fought each other. Then they fought together against the predecessors. Now we have something better. Real peace. Not because we're weak. Not because we forgot how to fight. But because we remember the cost. A young Xinthian cadet raised his hand. "Sir, do you think there will be another war?" Chris was quiet for a moment. "I hope not. But if there is, I hope we face it together. That's the real lesson. Alone, we're dangerous. Together, we're unstoppable." The class ended. The cadets filed out. Chris stood at the window and looked at Unity Prime. The station had been rebuilt. Expanded. It was now